Hola, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Roofless Dog and Pony Show. My name is Julio Panicello. I am the dream alchemist at Roofless Painters, a free-range art school, atelier, and gallery for 21st century romantics. And we are on episode 80. We're just gonna wait, until or give a little bit of an opportunity for people to join. This is live, but it's also being recorded. Oh, thank you. So with each episode, we reveal the theme of the next painting collection. We work on a collection of paintings every couple of weeks. We extended last week's collection an extra week because the work is beautiful and it's very timely, and we wanted to include as many people as possible in the collection. But we are moving forward to a new series, a new collection. We are proposing a new theme, and that's why we start the series by doing this presentation. We explain the reasons behind the next painting collection, the theme. We explain again where it comes from, where the theme comes from, and also how the theme relates to our contemporary life, or essentially how we connect with it. We explore different possibilities for visual representation of this concept that we're going to present right now, that we're going to reveal by using images of paintings throughout art history, most frequently contemporary time, or modern time rather. And we just present them as a way of bringing visual examples of the theme and connecting them with what we're trying to do, with the purpose of citing stylistic and historical references, giving opportunity also to visualize different ways how people in the past have represented the theme with paintings. So, hi everyone. So in many ways our episodes are like our paintings, messy, unpredictable, and unvarnished. We say that because as much as we do a little bit of research, compiling information to present and make the case of why you should join us in painting or contributing your painting to this collection, it's a little bit all over the place. So the presentation will be less than 30 minutes, and again, it's recorded, but this is the introduction, and that's essentially what we are going to talk about. You can find the presentation on YouTube. We have a channel, Roofless Painters. Also, we record this on Instagram, so you'll be able to watch it there at any point. And sometimes we also use the audio and create a podcast. On any podcast platform, you can just type the Roofless Dog and Pony Show and you'll see a bunch of episodes. You are welcome to contribute with your comments. If there's anything that you think needs to be corrected or needs to be explored, we stand to be corrected. So please, at any point during the live or after, just make a comment or write a comment. We would really appreciate it. It's essentially just the beginning of our exploration of the theme. So we usually, what happens is that when we start painting together, we start gathering more information, and we make a better, or we make a better sense of what we're talking about, what we're trying to explain or say through our painting. This is also an open call, which means that you don't have to join any of our wonderful and amazing workshops in order to contribute with a painting. You could just paint on your own if you'd like. If this concept that we're going to present in just a minute inspires you, and we would love for you to share that painting with us so we can just contribute or expand or diversify our collection with your contribution. So yes, we introduce the theme. We host workshops online and in person within the next couple of weeks. dedicated to the theme. So we invite people to paint images or scenes inspired by this theme, but it's not just limited to people who join us. Anyone who feels inspired to contribute or to use that theme for a painting is welcome to submit it to us. So let me see if I have a bunch of images, but all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain what is this and why this will be the reason or the excuse for our next painting collection. So social media is terrible, but it's also amazing because it's a portal to other artists that we are not connected with, we are unaware of, that create amazing, meaningful work and that we discover. So this past week, just browsing and trying to connect with other artists, we encountered and found this contemporary artist. Her name is Mary Mattingly. Mary Mattingly, contemporary artist. She's based in Brooklyn. And she just posted this precise image. And she says, let me see if I can. Yeah, so she created this in 2013. This is part of a series titled Pool. And it is featured right now on Canal Street. I think this is the one of the tubes or the stations in New York City, and one of the main stations. I think it's in Soho. I'm not sure exactly, but her work is featured right now on the station, and a station in New York City. And essentially, so what she did in 2013, I'm going to explain and read a little bit more using her artist statement, because I feel like she did a fantastic job, not only documenting the performance, but at the same time writing about it. It's clear, it's not complicated to understand, and it's just beautiful. So essentially, she compiled, she gathered all her possessions, everything she owned. She put it together in this big bundle, this sort of like boulder-shaped thing. And she just took it all outside on the street and she pulled it. She pulled it for I think half a mile. And somebody documented this performance, and this is the result. One of the many images, but essentially on the train station or on the tube station, there are three, like a triptych, there are three images. So she writes, in 2013, I bundled almost everything I had acquired and pulled some of the bundles through New York City to emphasize that these objects carried through the mining and production and distribution process. Emphasize what these objects carried. I pulled those bundles through New York City in absurd performances centered on my own consumption. I'm going to read a little bit more about her artist statement. Mary Mattingly grapples with her personal footprint in her, quote, House and Universe, quote, series, which is both performative and documentary. She began by cataloging her personal possessions and tracing their journey from raw materials all the way through the global supply chain that brought them into her life. She then bound them with twine into boulders and commenced a series of performances, including a symbolic walk across the Bayonne Bridge from the artist's blog. That was May 15, 2013. Walking across the Bayonne Bridge, struggling with my objects. The permit was just approved to increase the height of the Bayonne Bridge so that the largest container ships can pass underneath with ease, eliminating a previous barrier to the staggering amount of objects that could be brought into Port Newark, servicing the entire East Coast through the Midwest of the U.S. The walk was a celebration of the bridge as it is, a nuisance for the shipping industry, and a natural slowing of the New York, New Jersey economy and ports. Anyhow, so she goes along, or she goes on explaining that this is just not a performance in which she sort of like drags her possessions and talks about her footprint, but also she wants to connect this idea of how we accumulate and consume so much that things need to be altered in order to facilitate more influx of garbage and nonsense to our lives. And sometimes we are oblivious of the things that need to be changed around us in order to bring in even more stuff. It's never the other way around. It's never reducing. It's never not allowing more stuff to come into our lives. So I'm just going to jump from this, and the idea will be to feature or use references of people pulling stuff, carrying big loads of stuff, either moving things around, either doing it for work. But this is not something new. Obviously, she uses this in a way that connects her concept with the performance, and to bring attention of how terrible our consumption is to the planet. But at the same time, there is something powerfully or visually powerful in the way a human being gathers things and pulls them, drags them, carries them. This idea of someone using their own body to carry a heavy load for different purposes. So we're going to bring images of people carrying stuff, boxes, sacks, fabric, for different purposes on different parts of the world, and with different conditions. Sometimes it's absolutely horrendous and horrible. Sometimes it's the situation, it's because they have been uprooted from one place and they have to take whatever they own to a new situation, a new place. So hopefully this will inspire you to join us, and in trying not only to bring attention to this artist in particular, Mary Mattingly, and what she did in 2013, which I think it's so intense and powerful. She talks about pain and how this is nothing compared to the damage that we are causing to Earth, but also, the idea of like this being done every single day by other humans. So the first thing that I'm going to do before showing images is bringing examples throughout art history of painters that have captured humans carrying loads of stuff, dragging things. And this is an image by Van Gogh. It's just funny because we have seen all these like famous paintings, and they're constantly all over the place, and people throwing potato soup and tomato soup to make a point, which I think it's also connected to what we're doing, by the way. But we've never seen other kinds of paintings from these artists. So I've never seen this painting before. This is Miners' Wives Carrying Sacks of Coal by Van Gogh, and this was painted in 1882. Incredible composition, painting the way it's done, the burnt palette, almost monochromatic in a way. This was when he was focused on laborers and people working on the field and miners. He did a lot of portraits of workers at the time, a lot of charcoals that are not seen enough. And this is a painting that he did at the time when he lived. He didn't move to France yet. He was still in the Netherlands, I believe. Yes. Incredibly powerful in a way, also connected to this idea of a human figure carrying a heavy load. So one example of this that has been done before, obviously with different connotations and conceptually completely different from Mary Mattingly, but at the same time, somehow I would say related, maybe different with different topics of or issues. Or let me see if I can bring another Van Gogh. This is another piece, another painting. This was painted in 1881 in Belgium. Sorry, that was the case in Belgium. Miners women carrying sacks. The bears of the burden. The bears of the burden. And you can see here, I think this is not paint. I don't know exactly what medium. It seems like it's a little bit chipped, so I wonder if it's like I don't know exactly. I need to find out, and I'm going to find out right now. Really quickly, what's the medium? I have it right here. Pencil, ink, on paper. Okay, so we got it. So yes, another example within the same series, but again, figures in women in this case again carrying a heavy load on the field. So other examples. The reason why we do this is because we're trying to connect the conceptual aspect of what we're doing, which is someone carrying a heavy load of stuff, not necessarily in some cases possessions, in other cases garbage, in other cases because of work, like potatoes and produce and rocks. But the idea is there are so many reasons why humans carry stuff. And Mary Mattingly case, she made a really powerful case. I'm just repeating words all the time, for visualize our footprint, our carbon footprint, our garbage footprint, the fact that our environment needs to be modified to make it even more easy for corporations to dump stuff on us. But that's not the only reason why. So this is also a Van Gogh. I think that's the final. No, this is a Jean-Francois Millet. He's famous for the Gleaners, that painting the end of the 1800s, but of people working on the field. But he did other paintings also focused on workers on the field. This one is women carrying pieces of wood, painted in 1858. I'm gonna go to a different painting right now. Again, a different style. Also, in this case, strictly monochromatic. This was painted by Kazimir Malevich, the famous artist who did the Black Square. Unfortunately, everyone associates the Black Square with Malevich, but he was a wonderful post-impressionist painter who did a lot of or used figuration and realism. This is titled Peasant Woman with Buckets and a Child, and painted in 1912. A different style. So notice that the reason why we're trying to bring this again is to just show stylistically how diverse the concept of figures carrying loads or carrying stuff has been tackled by different artists. So we try to get inspiration from painters and paintings that have been done in the past that show a range of styles, from more realistic to more post-impressionistic, so more cubist perhaps on this, more geometric, using a rich color palette or using a monochromatic palette. But the idea is to just make us feel like we can do this, and we can do this and translate the theme in whichever way we want, really. So I'm just going to bring another example. This is a much more traditional approach. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but peasant pushing a wheelbarrow, and this was done by Camille Pissarro in 1874. So you can see the figure just in really tiny. There's also a main focus on the landscape and the architectural elements, but there is a figure pushing a wheelbarrow. So another example. I thought this was maybe appropriate or interesting. This is by Sorolla, the Spanish painter, in a different way, but also people carrying stuff. Fishermen pull the nets. That's it. Fishermen pull the nets. This is by Joaquin Sorolla. And, the focus on perspective and landscape, and also the human figure carrying and pulling at the same time. Perhaps the most traditional image of all the series or the images that we curated. And maybe as a final one, I mean, this is a figure that is not carrying anything, but it's a Toulouse-Lautrec. Toulouse-Lautrec is associated with nightlife, but in our opinion, he was one of the most revolutionary and daring painters of the whole lot that worked in Paris at the time. He is been reduced to just nightlife and figures in clubs and stuff like that, but his usage of paint and paint brushes, the compositions, the way he tackled figures, it's much superior than some of his contemporaries. In our opinion, he's an underrated artist, even though he's like super famous, but I think he's one of the most, we think he's one of the most talented, wow, that word, I don't like to use it, of his time. So a laborer at Celeron, Toulouse-Lautrec, and maybe here the focus, even though it's a figure that it's not carrying any heavy loads, it's on the landscape, on the contextual space around the figure, and the way it's also painted, like with lots of marks, nothing soft or blended, nothing's transitioning to softly to any other colors, and everything's very underdeveloped. So I think stylistically, we love this approach to doing a figure and a background. And I'm just going to show also some of the image references that we are currently compiling for this series. So again, using Mary Mattingly performance in 2013, in which she bundled everything she owned at the time, or pretty much everything she owned. She took it out on the street, she put it together, and with a jute string, she just bundled it in the shape of a boulder. Nothing on her statements or other people writing about her makes a connection to this idea of human beings doing this for centuries, just bundling things together and carrying them for different reasons. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about her work and conceptually what she's trying to do, and what she tried to do, what she did, and what she's doing currently. Because I think this idea of like having a nomadic existence and carrying things back and forth, it's still present in her work. But yeah, we found images, or we searched for images of people carrying heavy loads, bundling them together. There's something aesthetically and visually powerful and interesting and appealing, and at the same time conceptually also this idea of like carrying a burden, a weight, and moving things around almost mindlessly and without that much purpose, I would say. But yeah, so this would be one of the images that we're going to offer as a reference and inspiration. By the way, she also did she took photographs before she did the performance of pulling things on the street of New York City, of the bundle with herself. So we also got inspired by this idea of scale, the scale of how tiny we are compared to all the garbage and possessions that we gather over our lives, and how ridiculous when you compare all the objects and you put them together and you compare them with the scale of our own existence, our physical body, how ridiculous that is. This idea of also of weight, just putting herself underneath all these possessions to just show, that this is not something that, it describes a condition, but it's also implies that we are under the weight of our own possessions. So this idea of like heavy weight that hopefully with the selection of images that we have compiled, so maybe see if there's something, explains or brings up the same concept of like, you know, the idea of scale, carrying heavy loads, comparing something big with our human body, or so other images perhaps. I don't have all of them right here, but this it's another reference. But anyhow, so last minute, thanks for those of you who are still here. Thank you so much. We are ready to start a new series, a new collection of paintings. This time we're getting inspired by a contemporary artist, Mary Mattingly. She lives and works in New York, and the idea would be representing, translating figures carrying heavy loads for different purposes. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. We hope this inspired you. We hope this sort of like inspired your curiosity to learn more about these artists, and also see things differently in regards of accumulating stuff and how much of a consequence there is when we actually gather too much stuff, and what it does to our planet. Also, this is a plea to focus on a lot of groups of people that are forced to carry stuff for different reasons, not just because of labor, but also because of moving. There is going to be a huge wave of human beings that will have to move because of climate change from where they live, and that's going to change everything. So that's another fold, another layer, something we're going to talk about as well, and how that's going to affect the rest of us. So join us tomorrow. The webinar is the beginning of the collection of paintings, so it's the starting point. It's only $20. It's online. It's 2 hours. You can join from anywhere you are. You can use any materials you have. You don't have to use any materials whatsoever. If you just want to join and listen and be part of the conversation and learn more about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Some people just join our webinars and they just don't do anything. Some people just sketch. Some people use the images that we offer. Some people bring up their own images and do their own translation. You can incorporate this to your own body of work, or you could use it as a way of exercising and stealing some minutes out of all these terrible distractions that are waiting on us, going back to this idea of like weight and burden, and just hang out. So again, it's $20. It's 3 hours total. 3 hours total. 2 hours we paint, we exchange, we share, we build on our knowledge. We try to turn every stone to find more things that we should know about. And then the last hour is kind of like exchanging, sharing our progress, and discussing a little bit more how we feel about the theme. So again, tomorrow, we haven't decided what are we going to title this collection yet, but we'll find a title, and hopefully if you found this interesting, please like it and comment. And if you watch it on YouTube, also please leave a note. We'd love to realize that there are other human beings on the other side. And thank you so much. And I'm going to stop this right now.